Okay. All right. Well, welcome. It's really lovely to see you all and to have another curriculum meeting. We haven't had a meeting for quite some months now, and that's why I asked the other day at a Board of Education meeting whether you really wanted to meet and let me catch you up with what's been happening, because even though we've been in a pause, so to speak, I just wanted to let you know that we've been working really hard with the curriculum and instruction, and we've actually used this pause as an opportunity for the teachers to kind of get training and to meet and really think about some of the curriculum and some of the ideas and the vision that we had a couple of years ago when we started this big push towards reading. So really that's where I'm going to start tonight with the results of quite a long process with the teachers, reading teachers at Townsend, looking for a replacement for the core program, the core reading program that we have here at Townsend in Walton, and we wanted to replace Journeys. We wanted to replace it with something that is Science of Reading, which is a science-based program, evidence-based and research-based, and it's a very, very strong program. It gets rave reviews from the state and from just about everybody who looks at this. And so we found a program that engages or uses the science of reading, and we chose Core Knowledge, Language Arts, or CKLA. And once the teachers and reading teachers had kind of chosen that, what they decided to do was we ran a small pilot in the fall, thinking that the pilot would last all year, but it didn't. But the teachers seem to like it, and so we have engaged in the purchase of CKLA for all grades, UPK all the way through grade 5. That is a huge undertaking. That it involves pallets and pallets of books and resources that are coming for the teachers. And on top of that, I want to kind of direct you to the first handout. Let's see if I can share my screen, which is this one here. And this first handout, which it's got entitled, it's entitled, can you see that? I don't know whether I've shared it.
Yeah.
CKLA, we purchased the hybrid version. And this was kind of like a last minute decision, because the hybrid version, it provides all of the classroom materials, all the books, everything that the teachers would want, but it also gives the teachers 5 years of license access to online materials as well. So the teachers can actually plan a lesson from home and teach online. And with the pandemic and not knowing really whether we might have to repeat this whole thing if we go into kind of a relapse, that this would be something that could keep us going with the with online instruction. So it gives the teachers an extra resource. They're already doing a fantastic job with iReady and using that for children at home. So this just seemed like a no-brainer to put the kind of the extra effort into getting everything everything online. And it gives them lots of instructional content as well. It gives them access to games and lessons online as well as in the classroom. So that's where we went with CKLA. And then on top of that, we have engaged in letters training. And I think I did mention that in the October meeting, that we started looking at the language essentials for teaching of reading and what does the S stand for? Something else. But the teachers have been going through that training as well, K through 2, and that is training the teachers in how children learn to read, and that can be used with any program. So it totally complements CKLA, and it gives the teachers all of that extra support in teaching kids to read, because really at the end of the day, it's really important that we support the teachers and we build that strong foundation in reading that we really need with our kids. So that's kind of the curriculum. Now next year we start looking at math, and we're going to replace the math curriculum. So we're going to go through the whole process, but we're still going to continue the training and the support with CKLA and bring in math. So that's where we are with that one. Are there any questions about CKLA?
So Jane, my question would be, even throughout this process of virtual, have our teachers been continuing training throughout this, or has it been on a pause as well?
No. In fact, there were 2 trainings. There was a training yesterday and a training today. We managed to, I built up, obviously in the research of this, built up a really good relationship with Amplify, who are the publishers of CKLA. And we realized that with the hybrid version, the teachers received all of their teacher guides, they received them all online. And I know that, kind of personally, and I know that the teachers are just the same, is that I'm not usually very good reading things online. I wasn't brought up like the 3-year-olds of today reading, on a computer, but I need a paper copy of everything. So they do provide, you could, of course, you could print off the pages that you wanted if you, were like that. But some of the teacher guides were 700 odd pages long, thousands of pages. So I reached out to Amplify, and they gave us the teachers' copies. They arrived on a pallet on June the 1st. So we're really lucky that we got some of the teachers' guides. We also, when we were doing the pilot last year, got some teachers' guides. So the teachers actually have paper copies as well as the online. So
that's good. So they'll be able to implement it going forward when we.
Yeah, I want to be absolutely hit the ground running in September. It's the science of reading is it really is a mindset for the kids. It really is evidence based, and there's so much to it. It's not just like a series of books to read. There's a knowledge base, because what we recognize and what CKLA recognizes is that kids need help with vocabulary, with everyday experiences, that they need to build that. So CKLA builds a knowledge base as well as a skills base. So there are knowledge-based lessons as well as skills lessons. And, with sometimes up to 10 units, they're getting, there's 10 teachers' guides for skills and 10 teachers' guides for knowledge. So it really, that when that came, when the paper copies came, they came on a pallet of materials, and God bless him, John Jackson and Bill Prim have been absolutely fantastic in accepting all these pallets. It's a good job it's summertime. Getting all of these materials into the elementary school. It's quite a job.
And I'm just curious, just for knowledge based, when choosing out of the different curriculums and how you picked, and there was the teachers and other staff that will be utilizing it were part of picking which program best suits our district.
I left them to it. At the end, I left them and Amanda to it and they've been meeting online, doing virtual meetings. They've invited other companies to come and present to the teachers. We had Laurie Ostrander from DCMO BOCES, and she presented CKLA, and now she's their trainer. She's now training the teachers in its use. She's been using it for the last 10 years or so. And I've used CKLA at another school district, and I saw absolutely fantastic results there. So I was more than thrilled that the teachers were, after their research, realized that there really only is one program that really gives everything, gives that knowledge and those skills. And they did identify a small section on phonemic awareness and phonemes. And what we did was supplement with a book called Hegarty, which gives actual lessons in teaching very young students how to recognize and put those symbols to a sound and what that sound should look like. So all the lessons are planned for that. That again is an evidence-based book that we went with that. Hegarty came as recommended by outside consultants as well as Laurie Ostrander. So we knew that we think that with the letters, with Hegarty, with CKLA, we've got a very sound base, a foundation for our teachers. We keep going with the support, with the training, and I think that, you know, we're in a very good place, a much better place than we were a couple of years ago, and I'm thrilled. You know, I'm kind of thinking now we need to turn our attention to the next step.
And so, Mr. McDonald, you having an extensive curriculum background, do you recognize this curriculum and know? I mean, not putting you on the spot, but you have extensive knowledge.
I can see Jane smiling because she knows. Both of these programs that were talked about came through the department I supervised, and we did a code knowledge, which lends into the CKLA research study that Lori and another member of the department approached me on. 3-4 years ago, we approached, I think Walton was a case study, I think in middle school for that.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Right, and we approached it from a research standpoint in the region and saw excellent results and went from there. And letters, same thing. That was a regional discussion, came from actually, I think the principals group and Jane, and through our ISAC. We have an ISAC advisory in our region that Jane has been an active member of, that I facilitated from the DCMO BOCES side for a number of years. And a lot of these different regional large group discussions and sharing and research has really, it's really grown. That's one of the things I did at BOCES was revamp the ISAC committee for a regional approach. And Jane was an active part of that. I couldn't be happier with what you're saying. I think it's terrific. You should feel very accomplished and happy where you are on the ELA side, in my opinion. And I'm excited to see the results and where this goes. Absolutely. It's not done yet. There's a lot of work. There's letters level 2. There's letters. I don't think you got 100% through. You got other layers, different people to grow and to come through with a professional development plan. So there's a lot of work yet to be done, but what a great foundation and vision. Great work.
Good. Thank you thank you, because curriculum is a big thing of mine, and that's why I wanted to know. And I mean, not putting you on the spot again, Mr. McDonald, but I know you have quite the curriculum background as well.
Jane and I have sat at many tables over the last few years together.
Yeah.
And literacy is the foundation for everything. So this is a great place to be at.
Yeah, it is a great place to be. Like Dr. McDonald says, that we've got a ways to go, but we've got the materials and we have the vision and we have the supports in place to grow. With the literacy part, and if we hadn't done this, we would always have been in that spot that we were and that is always remediating. And so if you shore up the foundation, then eventually, and as I said, a couple of years ago, it will take a few years, quite a few years, but we have built the foundation, and we will grow. And over the years now, we will see that growth. As you know, we implemented FastBridge as a screener, so we can monitor the growth of the kids. We can look at how they're growing, and by taking kind of the FastBridge screeners, we can identify where the gaps are. We can kind of really hone in on the kids that really need those supports from the teachers, rather than just kind of fishing around in the dark for where the problems are. So with that and FastBridge, that's the key. We've got everything in place.
Well, thank you.
No, you're very welcome. I'm so thrilled. I'm really very, very thrilled. On the instruction side of things, over this pandemic pause, I think teachers have really taken the opportunity to engage in an awful lot of professional development, and they've done this, kind of during the day with Dave Potter has been delivering a lot of technology professional development, and teachers have been coming in and out as they feel that they need technology integration. And this actually put us in a very, very good stead, because if you remember that at the beginning of the year, our goal for the end of this year, for September, is to go one-on-one with Chromebooks with kind of grade 6, grade 6 upwards. And we knew that the teachers would need a lot of professional development in things like Google Classroom, in Zoom as we're Zooming, Google Meet, a lot of kind of interaction, but online training. And suddenly with this pandemic, we were thrown into it. We had no choice. And so Dave has created a lot of professional development. And he said to me the other day that he was absolutely amazed at how well the teachers have taken to delivering lessons online. So we are thrilled with that, and so we're way ahead of where we thought we were with Chromebooks. Dave Potter and I, we've been talking today a little bit about some professional development for the summer, but not an awful lot is really needed. We were planning on a summer of technology professional development. I don't really think that we need quite that much now, but we will be going ahead with a little bit of professional development just for those teachers who need it.
And my question there is that's great with the teachers, but do we have something in place for our students? As yes, they're tech savvy and computer savvy more than probably, me, even as an adult, but with going to one-on-one Chromebooks, making sure that they know how to utilize all of do we have anything at this point set up for teaching from, if we're going from 6th grade to 12th grade, the high schoolers, I think, pretty much have regularly been using emails and stuff like that. Have our middle schoolers also been, well, yes, because I have a middle schooler,
yes.
But making sure, when I was invited to Google Docs, by a teacher to see inside the classroom, I'm completely lost as just a parent. And I'm just wondering out there if it has, and I'm not sure we know this yet, but with this virtual learning, if it's affected any kids in a way that they just don't understand it yet.
I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of kids, because I've got my husband at home. We've inherited, I guess, our 6-year-old grandson who with his Chromebook, and my husband is calling me on a daily basis about what button to press here, there, and everything. So I think that the training comes from the teachers as they they're using Google Classroom in the classroom.
Okay.
At the moment, we're not setting up training for the children, because what we found is that once the teachers get a handle on what's going on, they've been contacting the students one-on-one We had one teacher who actually phoned each child in her classroom. This was in the elementary school, to make sure, to walk the child and the parent through the Chromebook that they got from there. So I wish somebody had done that with Christopher. I really do. But
I wish somebody would have done that with me. Okay, so that's that was, I guess, not, you know, a huge concern of mine, as everybody was thrown into it, and really we didn't have a choice. But moving forward, because we are moving to one-on-one Chromebooks, having something out there with the kids, even though they may already know, but having them taught as well each avenue of it, because teachers may, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but some may use, you know, Google Classroom, but there's other options to use in there as well.
Right. And yes, there's lots of options in there, and it really is, the teacher is going to have to sit down, you know, with the kids. They'll have the Chromebooks, and the teacher can sit down and look at each of the individual features and use the Chromebook in the classroom, where the teacher, he or she, has got, you know, kind of in an interaction with all the kids at the same time. To go through that one-on-one like that one teacher did in the elementary school would take an awful long time.
That's great. That's great to hear.
But they're doing a wonderful job, and that teacher, by the way, was, you know, in one of the, you know, real primary grades, and she's doing an absolutely fantastic job with Google Classroom.
So, not that I thought you would leave our students out of learning it, but I just wanted to make sure that they were going to be accustomed to this. I mean, you know, they've had to be thrown into it, but it's also new to Walton Central to have one-on-one Chromebooks at all times now.
That's it, and that's really what our concern was, to make sure that the teachers, you know, like you say, kids have been brought up with Chromebooks and laptops, and it's the teachers and the people like, you know, me, that haven't, and that we have to sit down and really learn that. So to support the teachers in using that, the middle school teachers have been doing a phenomenal job. They've been using that for a long time. And I met with the ELA and math teachers from the high school, and they did admit that they could do with a little bit of extra help with that, since all the high school will now get Chromebooks. And so that's why we're putting on some professional development over the summer. After graduation's all calmed down and everything, then we can get going with that professional development, and you know, kind of help them with that. So we've got 2 weeks set aside in the summer for professional development. And as I say, Dave and I were talking today about Google Classroom. Well, no, what we were talking about, Google certification, levels 1 and 2. I've got it written on my board up here.
Good. Well, thank you for that information.
And if I could add, one of the things that I've mentioned as I interviewed and I processed and I talked about is, what have we learned that went well, and what have we learned that didn't go well? And as we are thrown into the remote learning, and that's the insight that Jane's working on, analysis with the insight, but what have we learned that could be helpful for the parents if this continues? What could be helpful for the parents supporting their kids, even if it doesn't continue and it's just a normal one-on-one device? So a number of those are conversations that we'll be having to determine what kind of assessment can we do, what kind of analysis can we do to determine what went well and what didn't go well. Because there's parents who aren't tech savvy, don't have any technology in the home, and now all of a sudden they're thrown with a one-on-one device, and they've got to support their child who says, I don't know. And that's why working through the teachers is the terrific way to go for us. But what tools what helpful guides, what helpful things can we do to help? So all those things
that brings up a good point too. Like as we move forward and we get to know what September, October brings, even, you know, having something out there, because again, all of our students will get one-on-one Chromebooks, and not all parents or guardians out there are familiar with it. And I think it's important for them so they can help their child on it when they come home. I mean, I think they're doing the best they can right now. And I think our teachers and staff have been phenomenal in guiding them. But the more knowledge, the better off it'll be, because this is the way we're moving.
I totally agree with you. And I had that conversation actually with the math department, because it's not just the Chromebooks. I think parents have expressed a wish to be more supportive of their kids in math, and I put that to the math department, and they came up with an interesting plan for next year that we're going to explore for parents, and looking at some parent kind of information, education, kind of support evenings with parent family nights that link in with the math part of it. What we were looking at is changing the appearance of math. A lot of people kind of would maybe switch off, but what we want to do is try and make math more appealing across the district through a series of kind of parent family nights. So the math department are working on that at the moment. That's part of their plan for next year. So it's not just computers, but we could add the laptops and the Chromebooks to that, and kind of look at or investigate doing kind of a series of nights. But I think you're absolutely right with supporting parents during this program. So the other thing that we have been doing instruction-wise is getting ready for NGSS, which is the next generation science standards. And these involve a different way of thinking about science and doing science in the classroom. And so as a former science teacher myself, I took this on with a little bit of support from Dave, who is a science instructor from BOCES, or was. And so we have been meeting with elementary school teachers, because I think that the NGSS standards are going to be more problematic or less familiar to the elementary school teachers than to other teachers. And the NGSS, the next generation science standards, are based on what's called three-dimensional learning, which is a whole different way of kind of thinking about science. And it's more about, or it integrates not only the knowledge, but it integrates problem solving and application of science. And so this whole unit, this is kind of handout number 2 that I sent you, is, let's have a look at this. This is this one here. And this one looks at the whole, the science standards look at one particular phenomenon, and then go through anything that happens in nature, anything that happens in life, and looks at how we solved that problem. What did scientists do? What questions did they ask? What engineering was necessary? How do scientists learn? And so we've been looking at phenomena-based science, and we've been looking at this in terms of how can we integrate this into ELA and into math. And we've only really just started looking at this. And because this is so hands-on, it became really difficult to do online sessions with NGSS. So what we've kind of put it on hold for now, because the pandemic put the whole integration of NGSS into a hold as well. So it's not actually going to be implemented until 2023. We thought we were going to start this next in 2022, which gave us effectively 2021 to figure out what our curriculum was going to be. So we've got 2 years now to figure out how to integrate phenomena into science, into lessons. And what's going on? I think we've got the band playing outside my office. So this is it's a wonderful way, and so I just wanted to let you know that we are on NGSS, and eventually we'll have to look at for a curriculum that helps the teachers to teach figuring out problems and the engineering and science behind that. So I gave you that just so that you were aware that the teachers at the elementary school in grades 3 through 5 have just started working on this, and we'll be developing our curriculum over the next 2 years to incorporate science. Now, the great thing about NGSS is that it was designed, the science standards were designed alongside the ELA standards, and the purchase of the CKLA books and the knowledge strand of CKLA, the knowledge links into all of the NGSS standards. So teachers can actually use CKLA to teach part of the knowledge base of science. So this is a kind of a wonderful way to go, and I'm hoping that the teachers are going to enjoy figuring out, learning about, and just any everyday topics, from why does it rain on one side of an island and not the other side of an island, to why do hovercraft work, why do how can trains run on the super fast trains, how can they run on tracks and glide and not actually touch the track. There's all kinds of wonderful topics that that children are going to be learning about doing science. So this is a transition from learning about science to doing science, to actually doing science and performing and actually thinking about the investigations that need to be done before so the kids can come up with the ideas. So this is this is an end to teachers standing up in front of a class and telling kids this is what happens, and it's more of a let the kids find out how this works through investigation and design. So that's the other place that we've been going with the instruction part of it. The last part of my job is assessment, and as you're aware, every year we receive an accountability status from every Student Succeeds Act, and our accountability status this year came back as in good standing again, which is absolutely fantastic. We're all doing a really good job. And I sent you a fact sheet for teachers so that you could kind of have a look at the accountability that, oh, there it is. So that you could see the accountability, and that's this fact sheet here that I sent you for teachers. And these are all the accountability measures that we are measured on. And these are our goals, and I sent you a kind of a rundown because the accountability sheet that we get is absolutely massive. I did have it up on the screen, but it's just a just a whole sheets and sheets of numbers. So I kind of put that into a smaller version for you, and you can see that the accountability status is largely good. 2s and 3s and 4s, 4 being the highest level that you can receive. But there are a couple of problematic areas that we don't really want to be, and that's in these two areas, high school ELA and high school math. So that was the reason for me meeting with ELA and math teachers from middle school, high school. And that's where we came up with some of the plans, because this could become problematic if it continues as ones, but you can see that largely, and there might be small problems at the moment, but we don't want them to grow. So we want to really get those 1s to 2s next year, and that's what we're really going to be looking at. Now that we've built our foundation in ELA, these are going to be smaller problems as the years go on. However, they exist at this time, and it's something that we want to work on. You can see that our 4-year cohort graduation rate continues to be excellent. This is the highest standing you can get. 5-year, 6-year graduation rate. Our rates are absolutely phenomenal. College, career, and civic readiness, a level 4. That is that means that our students take more high-level mastery college courses than the state recommends. We far exceed the state average. Our chronic absenteeism it's great. We're addressing absenteeism. And so largely our the wonderful thing is that our 3 through 8 ELA and math are increasing because more kids are taking the state tests. So overall, we're in good standing, and we want to remain in good standing. And I think that we're doing a phenomenal job in kind of sharing this vision and moving forward. And I think Dr. McDonald was just so thrilled to have you taking the helm and leading us forward through this. It's a really great time to be at Walton.
Always a great time to be at Walton. I'm a little bit prejudiced that way. So
are there any?
Thank you for the welcome. So I don't have any questions, Jane.
Jane, oh sorry, I apologize for coming in late. I do have one question.
Yes.
And you may have already touched on this, and I apologize again for that. But with the correlation of the actual figures for 18-19 for grades 3 through 8 ELA and 3 through 8 mathematics.
Yeah.
And then you do get to the high school ELA and mathematics. Yes. What, I know you're talking about an improvement plan, but I missed, what do you think that where the problem lies in there? Is it just different programs, harder learning, different test standards? Well, actually it's not even the test standards there, but what do you think that is?
I did a lot of research on this because I had exactly the same question. And especially when our graduation rate is a 4. So it's not that our kids are not passing the tests. Our kids are passing. We're getting 100% passing rate, 90% passing, 95% passing rate. Our passing rates are absolutely phenomenal. So I went back to ESSA to look at how they calculated. And what they do is they give like a score to every student based on how high they pass the test. So students who just pass the test get a much lower score than students who pass with mastery at 85% or more. And that's where the problem lies, that we don't have enough kids passing with mastery. So we have the kids passing, which is fantastic.
Right, exactly.
What we want, though, is what we're aiming for is kids passing with mastery to get more of them. And I reckon that we actually only needed maybe 5 or 6 students to pass with mastery more than last year in order to bump us from a 1 to a 2. So it's not as if their whole of grade 9 has to now pass with mastery. What we have to do is just make sure that we kind of enrich the experience of maybe 5 or 6 students so that they can pass now with a higher score.
Right.
And that would move us. So that's what that's the same for the science department. And that's really what we were talking about in our meetings, was let's not get overwhelmed by the ones. Let's start thinking about what that means and what we can do about that. And the ELA department came up with some ideas of some trainings, and I've put those through to Janet Latham at BOCES to see whether we can start developing that training and that support. and also Nan Gazowski at DCMO both sees, you know, how can she help us just kind of enrich the math. And I know that the math department have taken on a wonderful program called Mindful Math, where they're starting to look at those high leverage practices in the classroom in math that are going to shift the focus of work from the teacher to the kids. So the kids are thinking a little bit more. So it's just very small changes that are needed. And my experience from kind of working in other school districts is that just very small but very positive changes make huge differences. You don't have to go all out and go crazy with, you know, kind of getting everybody into a panic over, you know, we're not doing this right or whatever. It's not a panic at all. These are very small steps that we can do that will change that. So that's why I say it's not a major problem at the moment. It could be if we don't do anything about it. But in recognizing it, we're doing a fantastic job. We're recognizing that there could be a problem in the future. And as I keep saying to the teachers, we're heading that problem off at the pass. We're not going to let it become a problem. So that's that was you know, kind of where we are with that.
So,
Thank you.
Jane, could I ask, not to put you on the spot, but I guess put you on the spot a little bit, but the new asset accountability, as far as the measures, the how it's rated in each of the categories. I mean, it's a lot. It's very complicated, as you and I know, dealing on. But how much information has the board been in this committee been given at this point in time? The questions that, for instance, some of the questions you're asking and some of you're answering, we do have some nice presentation material to go that will help explain that. And that may be very important for the board to receive if they haven't yet.
Yeah, we did. I did give the board, when this was first brought in a couple of years ago, I did give a board presentation about ESSA and accountability. But at that time, we didn't know what our baseline scores were. And then as our scores have come in each year, what I did was create the spreadsheet that is much easier to read than what actually comes from State Ed. So I'm just updating this, and every time we get a new set of figures, then I bring it to this committee so that we can have these conversations about what we're doing about these, you know, the scores. As you see, largely, you know, to receive a level 4 for you know, career and college readiness is amazing. Our graduation rate is absolutely phenomenal. So when little kind of hiccups arise, we can discuss, we can be aware of them and discuss, you know, like making plans for how we're going to deal with that in the future.
Okay, this would be just something for us to look at over time to continue to keep coming back with.
Right, and it's something that I also keep updating the teachers with as well. So the fact sheet for teachers went out to the math and the ELA, even though they'd had it before, you know, just to make sure that we're on the same page, that these are accountability measures that the state is judging us on. You know, when I first came here, we were a school in a district and 2 schools in need of improvement. So that was, you know, something that we really had to plan and turn around. And that's why we, you know, we invested in Fastbridge and started on this this journey of awareness, understanding by design, of looking at classrooms, looking at test results, and looking at how we can support not only the teachers but the children as well. From, you know, and we've upped our the rate of students actually taking the you know, the 3 through 8 testing. That showed that, you know, a tremendous improvement to actually have students taking the tests, because that all comes back, that's all part of that calculation, that helps us you know, kind of really evaluate where we are as a district, and so we can put the focus of kind of the focus of our vision, we can put it in perspective. We're not kind of focused on things that are irrelevant.
While we're on the, sorry, Rhonda, while we're on the math thing, and the whole curriculum thing and going to one-to-one and where we are just besides the test, I think it's very important that as a district and as a whole, like you said, you have things implemented with the math department, but I think, and I found that throughout this virtual learning, and, you know, again, we'll be using Chromebooks and maybe not always in the math class, but I find that that's been one of the things that have come back that it's the hardest for our students. And I'm talking no level of student, whether, you know, they're academically inclined or they struggle. But I'm just saying that I think it's something that with using the Chromebook and mathematics being, you know, as you get up to the high school level and even probably down in the lower level, that it's kept a close eye on for our students for a while to make sure that they are succeeding, not just with the test, but with the whole material that way. Yeah, that they're getting it, they're getting the grasp of it. I mean, I worry about that because that's been one of the biggest struggle for students right now, taking math virtually as we are set that way. So I just don't want to, like you said, you know, you have things implemented and great, but I think keeping a close eye on that for a while, making sure our students are absorbing what they're taking if we're using one-to-one and maybe not necessarily we don't know if we'll be in the classroom or on there. I mean, math can be a very difficult, especially the way that the curriculums are now. And again, going with the parents are calling, you know, we have great teachers to call to help them with it because it's Mr. McDonald, you know, you started as a math teacher, it's changed. And I worry about students. They may be able to test very well on it, but I just want to make sure that throughout this process, they're actually getting the curriculum and able to understand it before we continue to move forward with different things.
Right. Well, that's absolutely critical. And that's what we're looking at is how do we get our students to understand those concepts? So we're not actually talking about the actual math itself, but the methods of helping students, but also helping parents to help their students. And the other part of that, of course, is it's like a whole mindset. It's like a whole attitude. You know, it's how do we get or help other people to realize that math is exciting, and how do we change that view of math to make sure that everybody kind of understands it really can't get by without math in just about every situation. Every day you use math,
right?
So it's not something that you you can just kind of drop in, you know, at the age of 14 or whatever when you get, or when you get algebra 1. It's something that is really important. So how do we, you know, change the view of math? And so that's in the classroom, but also in the community. So I totally agree with you. And that's what the math curriculum is going to stay the same. It really doesn't matter whether we adopt, Go Math or New York State Math, or it really doesn't matter. The curriculum is federally mandated, and New York State built in that. It is the Common Core. We have no choice. But It's how do we teach that? How do we teach those concepts? How do we help students to get that deeper understanding of math is, and how do we get them enthusiastic about what they can do?
Right. Not frustrated. Versus that's, you know, the consensus I'm hearing at this point. And again, this is all new, but I'm just speaking even moving forward. Instead of, you find a lot more, unless they're a huge math enthusiast, they're frustrated with it, and it's hard for them to get through it, and it may discourage them from further, you know, math things, when we can hopefully figure out a way to make it just as easy, not easy, but just as fun and accepting as the other curriculums, because you hear a lot that once I'm done with my math, I'm done, because
exactly. Yeah.
So I'd like to see that you know, grow a little bit more, that it's not, we don't need to be scared of it. We just need to embrace it. And you're setting yourself up for frustration. Right. But we as the adults and educators have to help them smooth out that it's not as scary as they may think.
Right, exactly. You're exactly right. Yeah.
Do you think that with the statewide goals and versus Walton goals sheet, do you think that that is going to be adjusted considering, you know, what has happened this past school year?
Well, what they're actually going to do is keep exactly, and I haven't changed the sheet yet, they're going to keep the goal exactly the same for next year. Okay. So I'm just going to change the years on the top and move everything along. So our goal next year will be exactly the same as the goal this year.
Right. And that's one thing that I'm concerned about, is that the students will be out a total of 5 months, possibly more if they can't come back in September. Mm. And, you know, learning from a computer is much different than having a teacher, you know, stand in front of you, putting something up on the board, and really getting into the depth of, you know, how to work out the problem, or even looking over your shoulder and, you know, giving you a suggestion. So the lack of the teachers actually being present, I think, is going to be harder for those students to meet these goals that the state has set, but not saying that they still shouldn't strive, you know, to do better. But I just think it's going to be more difficult for them, and not that we can't expect the parents to become the teachers, although many have done a wonderful job. But we need to let them still know that even during the summer, you know, if there's resources out there that the teachers can provide to the students, you know, because they're bored already, you know, a lot of them are ready, you know, to get back. And maybe there's something, you know, resources that they can utilize during the summer to try to keep a little bit refreshed, you know, on the math and on the reading, you know, without losing it completely.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and I agree, Rhonda, I agree with you completely, but I also think that if this should continue, and we don't know, but even as a district, we should talk about how a school day could possibly look at home with actual teachers doing their Zoom, you know, almost like it's a school day. It keeps
more structured.
More structured. I mean, this was all new and we were all thrown into it, and there's a lot of emails, and I know some are doing Zoom, and it's new to everybody, and I think everybody's done the best that they can, but a more structural setting, should we have to go further into September where, okay, you know, a child gets it, and it's an attendance, because now we all have Chromebooks and the teacher's on there actually maybe with the whiteboard teaching it. And then you go on almost like a school day, because I think that is going to help. Again, I think parents have done a great job. I think there's some courses, especially as you get into the high school and the curriculum, where the students do very well and it's parents struggle to help. And so, and they do, and it's nothing against the parents. It's just a different way of learning now. And it's just, again, I've heard the math has been one of the biggest struggles. And I think that if they if, you know, there was a Zoom classroom where the teacher's actually there, and just because it's virtual, it could help make things easier. I don't know, just an option.
Yeah, we also have to recognize, though, that in Walton, we do have a significant population who don't have access to the internet. And that has posed quite a problem for us. So we've been delivering lessons on the buses when we've been delivering food. We've been also delivering packets of work for kids. It's, you know, it really is a conundrum in our particular. This isn't an inner city school district where everybody has access to the internet. We can just give out Chromebooks. So we've also looked at the possibility of putting Wi-Fi on buses, but we learned just before I started writing that grant, we learned that after investigation, that the Wi-Fi units that would go on the buses actually rely on cell phone towers. And so if you don't get cell phone service and you don't get internet service, you don't get the bus service either. So parents would still have to drive kids out to wherever the bus was, and then we've got problems, you know, kind of, does a driver sit with the bus, or, you know, so they might as well just kind of drive to an internet area. So there are, you know, we do propose, we've been problem solving as an administration team, and trying to figure this out. I think if we didn't go back in September, I totally agree with you. It's not the kids. The teachers miss the kids miss the teachers.
Right.
It is.
It's all
But it's right across New York. It's right across the United States. Right across the world. And what we have to do is continue to problem solve and acknowledge that, and the state has done that. They're not going to raise those myths and goals for a year, and we just can't wait to, you know, like, see our kids. That's what we want to do. There is no substitute for a Chromebook. Well, sorry, a teacher. There is a substitute for a Chromebook. A good one. It's a teacher.
And regionally, currently, I know this because I obviously in my current position, they're exploring technology-wise in instructional tech. What has evolved? Because I truly believe what we're going to see happen is the developers or software developers now are going to turn. They see a new market. All of a sudden, K through 12 has become a market with blended learning like it's never been before. So I think what we're going to see are some new advanced learning platforms and learning systems, and what's the best practices going out there. So we have some research being done on behalf of all of the districts at BOCES in that area, that hopefully we'll see some pieces that'll come that'll assist and give us some tools that maybe will help what the team comes up with. But that's good. I mean, this is just such a evolving situation. So
yeah, it certainly is. But lots of wonderful discussions, and we've got a great team here at Walton who are, you know, we're trying to figure out to the best of our ability. And all the band and the whooping that you can hear is all the seniors. They're all collecting their caps and gowns right outside my window.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, it's Thursday before graduation. Yep.
Jane, has this information been shared with the other board members?
No, I'm meeting. I'm coming to the board meeting on Tuesday.
Okay, so I'll ask Corey if she can get it to the other ones, just so they have it, so
Okay.
they can, you know, review it beforehand, because
Yeah.
it's very good information. Gives you a visual, you know, that how we're doing, and we're doing very well. But you know, that's what I, you know, would like them to see as well.
Yeah.
See the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Tuesday I'm coming to the board meeting. Well, I'm not coming, I'm Zooming.
Okay.
Thank you for answering all of my questions. It's been a while, and curriculum is my thing. So I had to know, you know, I have to know how this is gonna go, you know. And
well, we've not been standing still. I wanted you to know that.
no doubt in my mind. But
I'm sure of that, Jane, that you're right on top of things.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, and you know, I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
have a
Have a
great
good
night.
night.
Thank
Good job.
you. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.